Hi, my name is Tony Adranya, and today I want to focus on Twitter for sports journalists, which Twitter is obviously something that is very prevalent in the information age today, with so much information being out there. Twitter is a big part of that, but Twitter for sports journalists is very interesting because there's so many advantages and disadvantages for sports journalists, and these are problems and also opportunities that these sports journalists just did not have even 5 to 10 years ago. But since now that we're living in this information age, they've certainly have to focus on this, and Twitter is becoming a big part of, like I said, many opportunities for some sports journalists, but always has been the downfall and dismay of some sports journalists that didn't understand it or made mistakes on there. So there are definitely advantages and disadvantages to Twitter, and today I'm here to talk to you about that. We'll start off with the advantages that sports journalists have by using Twitter, and also that their readers have by them using Twitter. Users can always see who broke a story, so every tweet has a name and a time attached, so it's really easy to see who broke the news first. So you don't have people that are copying tweets, and you can't really see who broke the story first. We'll go into an example of that and some of these advantages on the next slide, but also retweets can really help spread breaking news and stories quickly. That's a huge advantage of Twitter. It can help create an audience that the journalists may have never had otherwise, but because people are able to retweet these tweets, it can help somebody that was just a local journalist really thrive and expand where they're popular outside of just their niche market now, which is great. And going hand in hand with that, that means tweets can potentially be seen by the entire world now. If we were still in the 20th century, news may only be seen by readers of the local paper or people who only watch the local newscast. But like I said, because people can retweet, because people can follow on Twitter, sports journalists now can become popular literally worldwide, because Twitter is a worldwide social network, and that's great for sports journalists. Something else that's great and ties in with the information age along with what I mentioned above is that sports journalists can tweet final scores for their followers that can't watch a game, or they can tweet pictures from a press conference that their viewers want to see, and all of this is immediate because information is immediately available now in the information age, and it can spread quickly, just like I mentioned above. And people want to see their team's final scores when they can't watch a game, or they want insider information or pictures from a press conference. So that's definitely a huge advantage that Twitter gives sports journalists. Something else that is great and huge for sports journalists is their ability to connect with their readers and subscribers. Journalists can informally chat with the people that read their articles and their stories, or they can chat about questions that readers have, and it gives the readers an opportunity to see their personal side as well as their professional side. And something else that is great is journalists can give quick updates without having to write an entire story on it. Back in the day, journalists would have to write a story in fine print in the newspaper if they wanted people to know about it. Well, now they can hop on Twitter and they can say something like, Will Sheehy has an ankle injury, he'll be out 2 to 3 weeks, and they can just put it on Twitter, and that's that. And they don't have to write an entire story about it, which saves space in the print, as well as saves time for the sports journalists. So in conclusion of that point, there's so many advantages that Twitter has. I've highlighted the main ones here, but you could literally go on and on and on about how many advantages Twitter gives sports journalists, and it really has helped create a lot of opportunity for sports journalists in this day and age, which is great. Here we'll quickly go over just some of the advantages of this particular tweet. This is Jeff Rabjohns. He works for Peegs.com in Indiana University. He follows Indiana University athletics, and he writes, "It's official, Christian Watford signed a contract with an Israeli basketball team." And you can see various aspects of this tweet. As you can see under the retweets and the favorites, there's a timestamp on it, so you can see what time he broke that news. Then you also see he has 109 retweets and 27 favorites. Well, those 109 retweets are huge. That means 109 people thought it was interesting and important enough to share it. So then it's sharing to all of their followers as well, and it creates a lot of people seeing this breaking news by Jeff Rabjohns. And then also under it, you can see some people replying to him, so they're able to informally try to ask them questions or just tell them congratulations and whatnot. So this is just an example tweet of something that's important and just some of the advantages that Twitter brings to a sports journalist. While there are several advantages to Twitter, there are also several disadvantages. Some of the main ones being that false information can spread like wildfire, and that's just part of being a part of the information age. If a journalist tweets something that isn't true, their tweet can spread quickly, and lots of people have false information, which definitely isn't good. Something else, tweets can be stolen. So if somebody tweets something, and then somebody else steals what they say, and they can tweet it as their own, and people start retweeting that and give that person credit even though they stole the tweet, that's definitely a major disadvantage. Journalists also have to work on a very strict time schedule now. Sports journalists are literally trying to break news every hour of the day on Twitter, and that creates a strict time schedule for them, and really they almost always have to be working. And then the last disadvantage really is that some very respected journalists just don't understand Twitter. They've been in the field for a long time, and they're just having a hard time adapting to the new journalistic culture, where Twitter is definitely very prevalent. And on this slide are just some examples of some bad tweets or disadvantages of Twitter and sports journalism. The first one on the left says Peyton Manning's in critical condition after a car wreck. I got 9 tweets. I actually ended up seeing this tweet myself back in March. It scared me because I'm a big Peyton Manning fan. But I had to do some research and investigating before I found out that was fake. On the top right is Alex Bozich, and Matt Dollinger said Christian Watford has signed a deal to play, blah, 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 blah. And then Alex Bozich just kind of copied his tweet and put it in his own tweet. So when people retweet it, they're actually endorsing Alex Bozich and not Matt Dollinger, so it becomes a disadvantage for Matt Dollinger. And then on the bottom right is Dick Vitale, one of the most well-respected sports journalists, but he doesn't really understand Twitter, which is a disadvantage. He's got a lot of run-on sentences and fragments, and he doesn't spell things right, so it just kind of creates a disadvantage to his readers because they respect him, but he's not really good with Twitter, which isn't good. But all in all, those are the disadvantages of Twitter, but I do think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, but there certainly are some, and a lot of those come just because we're within the information age, and there's so much information out there, and it can spread like wildfire, even if it's misinformation. In conclusion, Twitter is something that's great for sports journalists. I think it's good for sports news in general. Sports journalists just have to adjust. It's an ever-changing world now in the information age, and they're going to have to adjust, or they're going to fall behind the curve. And then fans just have to be careful on which sports journalists to follow. Like I said, there's some that are going to steal breaking news and things because of Twitter, and some aren't actually sports journalists, and they just want to pretend to be. So you just really have to find people that are well-respected and trustworthy, and people that usually have a lot of followers are trustworthy. And then fans just have you just have to be careful. You have to know who to follow. But in conclusion, I do think that Twitter has more advantages than disadvantages, but it definitely has both for sports journalists. Here are my references that I used throughout this project. I thank you for taking time to listen in, and I hope that you've gained some insight into Twitter and sports journalism. Thanks.